back with another video. In this video, I wanted to discuss the murder and assassination of the Iranian general Qassim Soleimani. Note, I did say assassination because I feel that's exactly what it is. The reason why I call it an assassination is he was killed outside of his country by a country who was just recently allies with him. Now, the narrative that's been floating around cable news is that, oh, we took out the world's top terrorist. He wasn't the top terrorist just a few months ago when the Trump administration was just working with him to defeat ISIS. I asked for you to start paying more attention. Those of you who are not, those of you who are paying attention to it, I ask for you to speak out and challenge people when they don't have pushback to these things. Some of the conversations I've had with people, they've said, oh, well, you know, he was a bad guy and he's killed Americans and he's done this and that. Have you asked the question which Americans he's killed? Now, I know that can be considered a controversial question, to question that, oh, well, a guy he's killed Americans, does it matter which Americans that he's killed? It does matter. It absolutely does matter, because when we start dealing with other countries and we start dealing with rules of engagement and rules of war, it does matter. And the people which he has murdered of that are citizens of this nation, majority were military, active duty military, in a combat zone. It doesn't make it better or okay that they were killed at his hands, but as a combatant, combat is part of your job and duty. When I signed the military, I remembered numerous portions which ended in this can result in death, incarceration, all kind of various consequences. No man or woman who joins the military without understanding that there is at least the 1% possibility that you can be killed. You understand that going in. And whenever you, as the president and as his administration and as those talking heads on TV have tried to say, well, this person is a terrorist, or this doesn't matter, or that doesn't matter, or, well, it's American citizens who were murdered. You got to understand, for one, we are not supposed to be in Iraq. We lied our way into Iraq. Iraq is his neighboring country, and we're a country which has had multiple hostilities with his nation over the decades. I mean, we've literally overthrown one of their popular leaders. I mean, that's I'm going to go into in another video so I can go in more detail. But I mean, I think a lot of you guys know about the Reagan years and you know about Iran-Contra. What do you think that was about? I mean, all of these different things that we've done to try to influence and manipulate, or try to control, or try to teeter with the governments in the Middle East have consequences. None of us would like or I guess nobody out there would like, if I decided to just walk into your house and just start telling you what you're going to do. Okay, you need to go to bed at this time. You need to stop eating that. You need to start doing this. You need to start doing that. That's what we do around the world in every other nation. And us as Americans have tricked ourselves, or I don't know how to describe it, but we've told ourselves that we are better than these other nations. We do not have to treat them with respect. We do not have to respect their sovereignty. We could just do whatever we want to any country, and it doesn't matter. But, you know, if you do anything back to the United States, then, you know, that's when there's a problem. That doesn't work in the real world. That doesn't work in reality. And if the United States was a person, then the United States would be looked at as a bully, because that's what we're doing. We have more power. We have more. We have a stronger military. We have went around the world and continuously went after other nations' resources just because they were smaller than us. I don't know how to describe that any other way than but a bully. Those of you who decide that, I support the president, I support this decision, and this is what he should have done. It's fine. You can have your point of view, but understand what you are and understand the point of view and the narrative that you have in your head. You are a bully. You like to bully people. Just because it's to a country which is all the way on the other side of the world, which you don't understand their culture and whatever. I mean, think about it. What are most kids bullied in school for? Difference of culture and don't understand, or just they're different in some kind of way. It's no different than what we're doing as a nation. There's no reason why we can't get oil from other nations. There's no reason why we can't use the oil, which we're the number one producer in oil. There's no reason why we need to be in these nations and continuously going after their resources, or deciding that we're going to use this country or that country as some kind of proxy pawn or chess piece in some kind of major global chess game that's going on between us and between Russia and China. This is nonsense. And as Americans, we need to start pushing back against this. I don't care if you're a Republican and you love Neil Gorsuch, or you love getting more Supreme Court justices, or you're worried about the unborn life. That kind of stuff's not as important as what we are doing around the world in other nations. We're sitting up there bombing and basically stealing from other countries. And then we have a lot of our friends on the right who are sitting there and they want to say, well, we have to do this. No, it's bull. It's complete BS. And myself personally, I will always push back against that. And I will say it directly to anybody who doesn't understand that. The reason why people like Tulsi Gabbard, the reason why people like the Green Party, the reason why Bernie Sanders and a lot of other people are pushing for this anti-regime change war is because we don't need to do this. It's not about some kind of Russia Red Scare or Putin this and that. You know why Putin supports a lot of people on the left? Because Putin doesn't want war either. It's not about some kind of cabal that we're trying to sell out our own nation. That's nonsense. That's a Tom Clancy book that some of you guys need to realize that fiction that you've been fed, that you listen through MSNBC, through CNN, through Fox News, through a lot of these outlets is only meant for one thing. It's only meant for one thing. And the one thing that it's only meant for is it's meant for making money for Western corporations. If you don't understand that, or you can't be honest about that and just say, well, yes, that's what I support, then I don't know what else to say to you, because it's perfectly clear. If you look at just look at the stock market. The moment after that strike happened, Raytheon, Boeing, you go down the list of all the defense contractors. All of their stocks shot through the roof. And then what do you see the next day on the news? You see these very same Bush administration appointees, which some are now Trump administration appointees, who lied about Iraq, who made money then, are on TV making money again. And then we all sit here and say, well, Soleimani was a bad guy. We said Saddam was a bad guy. We're saying Maduro's a bad guy. I mean, I literally just tweeted out a story about him raising The minimum wage, 67% because of inflation. But you're not going to hear that. You're only going to hear, "Whoa, the people in Venezuela are eating rats." You're going to hear all this other crazy nonsense, or Guaido really should be the leader. People, it's about what our corporations can make, how much money they can make, and wherever the next opportunity is. And our gangster government, as Brother Cornel West would say, our gangster government, that's what they're in business for. Our government basically teams up with our corporation and uses our military to force nations to do business with us the way we decide on our terms. If you're fine with that, then yes, keep going on with rah-rah American imperialism, American foreign policy. And yes, we need to go out and go buy more tanks, and we need to go spend another $750 billion on weapons of war. I mean, I challenge any of you who really do believe that, oh, no, really, this is to build up the military and this and that. I mean, we spend more than the next 10 nations combined. Next 10 nations combined. And yet, how many actual militaries, I'm not talking about some terrorist, I'm not talking about somebody who got some bombs in a book bag and tried to walk into a building, or I'm not even talking about 9/11. That's a whole nother discussion that we won't go into, but I'm not talking about a one-off. I'm talking about, when's the last time we've had any nation attack us? World War II, Pearl Harbor. And you know why? Because there aren't very many that could attack us. When Trump and these neocons get in there and they say, "Whoa, our military is weak, and our military, it was falling apart." That's nonsense. If you notice, every time, and I dare you to do this little thought experiment. Every single time they say the military's weak, and then we've spent money to build up the military, what happened right after we built the military up, or we got that big funding? We went and attacked somebody. We don't spend money to try to build the military back up. We're only spending military so we can go after resources in other nations. I guess that's all I have as far as my outright reaction to Soleimani. We didn't attack this man because he's the world's foremost terrorist or any of that nonsense. We attacked him for the same reasons which we try to go into Venezuela, oil. We attacked him for the same reason that we overthrew their government in 1953 and then installed a puppet dictator, which was eventually thrown out of power in '79, which we'll get into more in that. I have a video coming later, basically about our history within that region between Iran and Great Britain and Russia and all those things. So please check that one out. Sorry, I got distracted. But we didn't attack this man because he was some kind of evil enemy. We attacked this man because our foreign policy in America has always been after Iranian oil. And President Trump was not bright enough to figure out the people which he put around him. See, when you become president, most people who go into that office have no clue about majority of the jobs. So naturally, what you're going to do is you're going to hire people who have expertise in those areas and count on them to lead you in the correct direction. And the problem is Trump, because of his laziness, and hasn't taken the time to pay attention to the people he's put around him. And the people he's put around him have stated for as long as I can remember that they wanted to attack Iran. So anybody who believes that this attack is genuine, that it was justified, it's justified if you decide that you want to go into war. That's the only reason why this is justified. Guess that's all I have to say on that. I think that this was an assassination and it was something that should have never happened. Do I think Soleimani was a good guy? No. Do I have hatred towards him myself, knowing that he's killed, fellow brothers in arms, servicemen? But that aside, my personal feelings aside, when you take out somebody like Soleimani, who is not just he's not just a general, he's not some terrorist that you just bump off. He's an actual leader in a government. And whenever you just outright take out a leader of a foreign government, that's an act of war. I don't care how you try to square it or how you feel about it, because if the reasoning for taking him out that he's just a bad guy, then we need to be taking out MBS in Saudi Arabia. We need to be taking out Duterte and Turkey. I mean, we can just start going around the world and start bumping people off if that's perfectly acceptable to take out leaders. But then if that's the new standard and that's okay, then nobody needs to get upset if say Hillary Clinton gets shot, or if Dick Cheney gets shot, or if George Bush gets shot. What I'm trying to say is, turnabout is fair play. When you start doing things and you step across a line, then hey, that line is stepped across so that people can come back to you. I mean, I remember when I used to go to the range in the military, one of the first things that I was told when I'd start working, learning to shoot and work on marksmanship is, whenever you have to raise this weapon towards another human being to fire, to take a life, you have to remember, if you are willing to raise that firearm to take a life, you have to be willing and prepared for your life to be taken also. So I just warn, when we start basically allowing and condoning and giving cover for our government to start doing illegal acts like this, just know, when it comes back to us, we can't sit there and play the victim. That's all I have on this. So you know what, I will leave it here, and hope you guys all have a good one. Thank you for joining me.